An attractive planted aquarium designed to showcase these beautiful plants from Tropica. Look at that portion there. Doosh. Hi everyone, George here, and welcome to another step-by-step tutorial, a bit different this one. And we're going to be aquascaping this OASE ScaperLine 60. For those that don't know, ScaperLine tanks. Beautiful new release from OASE. Let me talk you through some key features. Probably the number one unique feature to the actual aquarium itself is these mitered corners. I think the only other brand that I know that do this are UNS from the USA. So low iron opti-white glass, more transparent than regular float glass. You can see the blue kind of tinge here. With float glass, it is like a green colour. 60 centimetres long, 6mm glass, 60 by 35 by 35, gives us about 70 litres, 2 feet aquarium, basically 20 gallons. And I really like this size of tank because it's cheaper to set up than obviously a bigger tank. It takes less time to maintain, less time to actually aquascape. If you're a prolific aquascaper, if you like to set up frequent aquascapes like I do, then you can do that, fairly frequently without, too much time, too much money. So it's a really good size, a good entry level as well, this size aquarium. It's probably the kind of smallest size you can really get away with starting to keep sort of bigger amounts of smaller fish. The cabinet has some other unique features as well. So it comes in the grey and the black. This is the grey. So a couple of cool features to start with. The magnets on the inside of the door for your tools. You've got these slots in the side of the tank, and you actually have magnetic kind of inserts, so you can adjust these accordingly to your needs. I've got them completely open, so I can have the pipes come in whichever way I like. It also has soft close hinge, push to close, push to release. Perfect. And open. No room for shelves in here because we've got a big CO2 kit and a big filter. Speaking of filters, this is the OASE BioMaster 600 Thermo, hugely over filtered for this size aquarium, but I did want to have a high level of circulation in here. This is going to be a high energy aquascape, so plenty of light. We'll talk about the light in a minute. CO2 injection, lots of circulation with the BioMaster 600, regular liquid fertilizers with the Tropica specialized nutrition. And the idea is to grow the plants as quickly and as healthily and as algae free as possible. And the longer term plan with this tank is to actually, almost like a farm tank, I want to have it nicely aquascaped so it's pretty to look at, but also I want to kind of use it as a tank to grow aquarium plants to their kind of maximum potential, get content around these plants, a lot of kind of brand new experimental plants for Tropica potentially, so that's exciting. But yeah, so it's going to be aquascaped, but it's not going to be like a high-end contest sort of diorama style aquascape. It's going to be very much a classic kind of planted tank with some nice hardscape, so a kind of accessible aquascape that almost anyone can achieve, especially if they invest in the right equipment like we've got here. We've got the lighting here, which is the WIO Slim LED. This is actually quite budget friendly. I think it's only about £130 or so. So quite budget friendly, but it is full spectrum and it does bring out the colours very realistically. You've got the likes of the ADA Solar RGB, the Aquasky RGB from ADA. These are magnificent lights and they really saturate the colours beautifully, but they're not so realistic, especially for video and for photography. So actually the WIO lights, for photography purposes, I actually find a more realistic rendition versus the ADA and the higher end Chihiros lights. Speaking of which, so this is the Chihiros WRGB2 Pro. So I'm just awaiting for a separate power supply unit to turn up from China, and then I'll give that a try, and that'll be interesting to compare the kind of budget friendly version of the WIO versus the sort of higher end Chihiros with a fully controllable app, etc. So excited to kind of show those two off. We'll do a step by step. Nothing too fancy in terms of the scape itself. Next step is to install our substrate. No surprises there, that's Tropica aquarium soil. And then we've got some hardscape. We'll put all that in next. and of course we'll do a time lapse of that. Okay, hardscape's in. Now it's a relatively simple hardscape composition. Lots of open soil there to plant into, some room there to put our epiphytes into, and some room on the wood to put epiphytes onto. So next it's time to prepare the plants that we do have already. These are all Tropica 1-2 grow. A lot of them are kind of rarer species that aren't available yet on the open market. So something quite exciting maybe to chat about later. I'm going to go and grab some lunch with Stephen and I'll be back soon. Beautiful lunch, Emma, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, let's talk about some plants. These are all Tropica plants, as you can see, all 1-2 grow. Now there are some rarer species that haven't been introduced to the hobby yet. So this one here, for instance, this is a hygrophila species. This is cool. I think this is Eriocaulon Vietnam. You can't really see it so well underneath the cling film there. But of course we'll see that when it's in the aquarium. We've got some Eleocharis acicularis. Now that might not seem too weird for you, but at the moment we only produce the mini version in the 1-2 grow. This is the regular acicularis, which grows a lot taller. This will grow to potentially 15 centimeters tall. So interesting addition to the 1-2 grow. And then we have Echinodorus Reni. Again, this is a regular potted species, but now Tropica are producing it in a lab in our own Danish laboratories. Finally, in this selection, we have the Prospernica palustris Cuba, advanced stem plants now produced in 1-2 grow. So interesting selection of plants. Oh, finally, sorry, we've got the Hemianthus micranthemoides, very fast growing stem plant for the background. That's more going to be hopefully to help avoid algae issues because it is such a fast grower. So we'll prepare all these now. Okay, so the plants are all prepared. The stem plants there, they're on the right hand side of the screen, that's the Hemianthus, that will go in the back with the Prospernica there, the Reni in the back, in the mid-ground even, to add like a focal point colour. The moss, which I don't know all the full scientific names of these plants will be in the description. This is a new moss that Tropica are producing, a new Eriocaulon, Eleocharis acicularis, a new hygrophila, Prospernica and Hemianthus. So we'll plant all those now. Okay, so we're planted. Looking really good and quite full already. Quite impressed. As always, really good value for money with the 1-2 grow. You get a lot of plant portion for your money, and obviously the more you split that up, the more spread you can get. So quite a straightforward planting layout. We've got the Hemianthus micranthemoides stem plant in the background there. It's sort of the left and the right hand side. And then in the center rear, we have the Prospernica palustris Cuba. So that's going to go red, like a red feathery leaf, hopefully. Bright green of the Hemianthus. We have the central area here. This is empty at the moment, but we are going to go to Aquarium Gardens and get some epiphyte plants for there. Probably a good old Java fern in the middle, and then some Anubias and or Bucephalandra in between the rocks. Right at the front we have Eleocharis acicularis. This is the standard version, not the mini. So this is going to grow relatively tall. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out in the longer term. Then in the centre of the screen there, we've got this brand new, but it's a fast grower, I think. It's easy and it stays low and compact, even in lower levels of light. Then we've got Echinodorus Reni there. Beautiful Echinodorus. This will probably get to 20 centimetres or so tall. Quite a big mid-ground plant for the smaller aquarium. This aquarium is really designed to showcase these aquarium plants. Some of them, you know, as we said, quite new. Speaking of which, here we have the Eriocaulon Vietnam. So interesting to see how this one will grow. Never grown this one before myself. So a couple of brand new species for me here, and I don't think I've actually tried the Prospernica yet, so it'll be interesting to see how we get on with that. There we go, the scape is almost there. Let's go to Dave's now and get some epiphytes. Dave, the owner, was there and he's kindly donated this piece of Microsorum Terrapus Trident, aka Trident fern, ready attached to driftwood. This is a Tropica Aqua Decor product. Really great for adding instant impact, and I think it's going to slot nicely into that gap there potentially, or we can peel off the plant from the wood where it's attached to and reattach it into the hardscape there. There you go, perfect. Perfect focal point straight away. Epic mature plants. These have recently been removed from the Aquascaper 900 from Aquarium Gardens as a part of a maintenance session. So Dave's taken out a load of Anubias Petite and Bucephalandra Kedagang, and they are going to slot perfectly into those gaps in between the wooden rocks. All these beauties. So we've got Anubias Petite here. Mature, a little bit of algae on there. We expect that from Anubias, such a slow grower. Doesn't have the capability to really fight off algae. But what we can do is literally wedge that right in between the wooden rock. That's going to naturally creep over and become self-attached over the next few weeks or so. Look at this epic portion here. Let's put it under the light for you. Look how beautifully colourful that is. Absolutely stunning specimen. Can you see that Ricardia there? That looks beautiful, doesn't it? So thank you so much to Dave, generously supplying these beautiful specimens. Gives us a real instant impact there. Look at that, that's magnificent. Look at that portion there. Doosh. That is outstanding. Let's put that back here. Can you see that, Steve? So you can see a gap there. Let's just try and wedge that in that gap. If you wanted to, you could use super glue. It can be quite brutal with Anubias. It is a very robust plant. It's real tough, waxy leaves. That's why I like to use it in my cichlid tank, because despite the herbivorous fish nibbling on it, it does withstand, you know, significant attention. Okay, we've got a lovely gap here, Stephen. Can you see there's a gap here? And you know what? The Bucephalandra is smothering the Anubias there, but that's okay, because the Anubias likes to be shaded. Now the issue is, can you see this? The Echinodorus Reni, that is now shaded by the Bucephalandra. So put all of the Echinodorus in one section. You don't have to use tweezers all the time. OASE BioMaster 600, super powerful for this size tank, but as alluded to earlier, we want to have high levels of circulation. This is going to distribute the CO2 gas around the tank as effectively as possible, give those plants an equal opportunity to use that CO2 and hopefully all grow equally as well. The issue is, if we don't have good circulation and we have CO2 injection, there'll be dead spots in the aquarium, there'll be circulation dead spots, and those plants won't have access to any carbon dioxide and less access to nutrients in the water column. So they're going to suffer. Whereas the plants that do have access to the CO2 and nutrients are going to thrive, and you'll get this kind of imbalance of growth, and it will cause algae issues, etc. High levels of circulation also promote good gaseous exchange, good oxygen levels, which is beneficial for the fish, the shrimp, the snails, and the filter bacteria as well. Quick release pre-filter, takes a couple of minutes to maintain. Just rinse those pre-filter sponges in running tap water in your kitchen or utility room or your bathroom or wherever you need to do that. Built-in heater here. We've got clear hoses here. Otherwise they do come supplied with like a grey smoky hose, so I've exchanged that for the clear hoses. This is more in keeping with a kind of minimalist style aquascape, of course. These will eventually get plumbed into some acrylic pipes, which I'll show you later, from Aquario. CO2, massive shout out to my friends over in the States, Greenleaf Aquariums, for this amazing CO2 regulator, probably one of the highest quality regs you can get on the market. It's not actually on yet or turned on. This needs tightening up and this needs turning on, but we'll get the CO2 running later. That's actually will be going into an in-tank diffuser. So this is the CO2 diffuser. Look how small it is, and it's really discreet, and it's got this really cool U-bend here. So there's no suction caps required, and the clear hose runs along the side of the tank. And everything's really discreet, and that's why I really love this style of diffuser. If you compare an in-tank diffuser to an in-line diffuser, so that would literally, you would cut a section here out of the output of the hose, and then you'd fit your in-line diffuser here, and so the CO2 gas would penetrate through the diffuser and then come through the outflow of the water, and then that CO2 rich water would get pumped into the aquarium. But the potential issue with an inline diffuser is that you are causing, there is a break in the hose, so there's three potential areas for leaks. You've got the hose going in, the hose going out, and then the CO2 hose going in. So there's a potential for leak there. And you've also restricting the flow slightly, so the diameter where the water's flowing through has to be slightly restricted due to the fitment of the inline diffuser. So you're actually going to reduce circulation levels slightly. So that's one of the reasons, on smaller aquariums at least, I like to run the in-tank diffuser. Although you will see it in the aquarium, it's tiny. It's acrylic, it's only got this little brown thing on the end, so it doesn't really notice. Not as discreet as an inline diffuser, but in my opinion, on this system in particular, this is my preferred method of injecting CO2. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Let me know what you would do in this system. Would you prefer to opt for the inline diffuser, or would you go for the in-tank diffuser? Let me know in the comments. So, scape's filled with water. It's looking quite good. The equipment's fitted. This is interesting. We've got the Aquario acrylic inlet and outlet here. The acrylic isn't quite so kind of clear, of course, as glass, but it's very robust, and you can just kind of manhandle it without fear of smashing expensive glass. So it's safer, stronger, lighter. If you look at the outlet, it's actually pointing downwards slightly there. Now that's actually quite useful because it will encourage really good circulation around the water column. So if you look at the kind of angle there, the water's getting forced out of here at quite a high rate of knots because of the BioMaster 600. The water's flowing at quite a high velocity across the front of the aquarium. Then because the inlet is here on the rear right-hand corner, the water's forced to flow around in a clockwise kind of direction as you're looking down, and therefore the water's flowing past the CO2 diffuser here, and you can see that none of that CO2 is reaching, or hardly any will be reaching the surface. Most of it will be hopefully getting distributed around the whole aquarium quite equally. So that's the whole idea, you see, to get really good equal distribution of the CO2 around the whole aquarium. All of the plants have equal opportunity to that CO2 and will hopefully grow equally as well. And you can really quite easily observe that equality of growth, because we have the Hemianthus micranthemoides stem plant there on the left and also on the right. Now it is a very fast grower, so depending on how the left or the right grows, if there's a differential, we'll know that the CO2 distribution isn't quite so effective. I did plant another plant in here which we've not seen yet. I completely forgot about it. This is the Ludwigia inclinnata Cuba. So this is actually a very rare plant. It's actually in its immersed state there. You can see the leaves are quite kind of robust. There's some die-off there happening already. I'm really hoping that this will adapt to its underwater form quite well and exhibit the beautiful growth characteristics. Just a close-up of some of the Bucephalandra here, kindly donated by Aquarium Gardens. And then we have some of the Anubias here. You can see some slight bits of algae on there, but that's no problem. Good old Trident fern. And then we've discussed all of the other plants. This isn't, a contest level high-end aquascape. It's more of a, an attractive planted aquarium designed to showcase these beautiful plants from Tropica. You can expect lots more content coming soon on the Tropica channels from these plants. There'll be plant profiles on some of these plants in the future, I'm sure. And as always, hopefully there'll be plenty of updates on this scape moving forward. You can follow me on Instagram, George Farmer Studios, normally daily content on my Instagram channel. I also manage the Tropica Aquarium Plants Instagram channel as well. Lots of high quality, unique daily content happening on there as well. So, I normally ask what fish we put in here, but we're not putting fish in this one. This is just going to be a cherry shrimp breeding tank. I am planning on turning over the aquascapes relatively frequently. This is going to be used to gather lots of frequent content on aquarium plant species, lots of high-end photography, hopefully high quality video content as well, so keep your eyes peeled. Thanks to OASE for supplying this beautiful aquarium, of course. OASE ScaperLine 60, they do bigger versions, the 90 and the 100. Thanks to WIO for supplying the lighting. Thanks to Greenleaf Aquariums for supplying the CO2 kit. Tropica, of course, for the soil, the plants and the fertilizer. Aquarium Gardens for the hardscape and some of the mature plants. Aquario for the glass pipe work and the CO2 diffuser. And Fritz Aquatics for the water conditioner. In fact, we haven't dechlorinated the water yet, so what I will do soon. I mean, there's no livestock to harm with chlorine, so I'm not so fussed at the moment. But this is my go-to dechlorinator. It's a full spectrum water conditioner from Fritz Aquatics. It will neutralise ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. Very efficient, very concentrated, so you don't need a lot of product to go a long way. Very excited to scape a rimless tank again at home for a change. I am more of a fan of lids to prevent evaporation and jumping fish, but we're not keeping fish in here. Like I said, we're just keeping shrimp, so I'm quite happy to deal with a little bit of evaporation and top-ups, etc. We'll be doing daily water changes for the first couple of weeks on here, and hopefully we'll watch this one grow, develop into something quite beautiful, a nice home for our cherry shrimp. Okay, you take care, keep on scaping. Cheerio.